In the late 1930s, Antarctica was still one of the least understood regions on Earth. Much of the continent remained unmapped. Its coastline was difficult to reach, its interior almost impossible to cross, and its weather could turn a scientific expedition into a survival problem within hours. For governments, explorers, and commercial industries, Antarctica represented several things at once. It was a scientific frontier. It was a field of national prestige. It was a source of possible natural resources. And in the age of empires, it was also a place where maps could still be used to project power. One of the lesser-known expeditions to Antarctica took place between 1938 and 1939, when Germany sent the vessel Neuschwabenland south into the region now known as Queen Maud Land. The expedition mapped parts of the coastline and inland ice using aircraft. The area was later referred to by the German name Neuschwabenland, or New Swabia. The official expedition was short, limited, and heavily tied to economic concerns, especially the whaling industry. But over time, this real historical event became the foundation for a much larger mythology. After the Second World War, stories began to circulate about hidden German bases in Antarctica, secret submarine routes, advanced technologies, and a place sometimes called Base 211. These claims have appeared in books, documentaries, online forums, and popular conspiracy culture. But what does the historical record actually show? This documentary looks at the documented German Antarctic Expedition of 1938-1939, the wartime and post-war context, and the later myths surrounding Base 211 and Neuschwabenland. The goal is not to dramatize the subject, and not to validate political extremism. The goal is to separate three things: what is documented, what is uncertain, and what belongs to post-war folklore. By the late 1930s, Germany was a rapidly militarizing state under National Socialist rule. The economy had been reorganized around state planning, rearmament, and strategic self-sufficiency. The four-year plan, launched in 1936, aimed to reduce dependence on foreign imports and prepare Germany for the possibility of war. Raw materials mattered. Food supplies mattered. Fuel, oil, and industrial inputs mattered. In that context, even something as distant as Antarctic whaling could be seen as strategically important. At the time, whale oil was not a minor product. It was used in margarine, soap, lubricants, and industrial processes. Germany consumed large quantities of whale oil, and much of the world's whaling activity was tied to the Southern Ocean. Norwegian and British interests were especially active in Antarctic waters. Germany had commercial reasons to look south. The country wanted to expand its own whaling capacity and reduce dependence on foreign-controlled supplies. Antarctic exploration, therefore, had an economic and political purpose before it had any mythological meaning. This is the setting in which the German Antarctic Expedition was planned. The expedition was led by Captain Alfred Richer, a naval officer and experienced polar aviator. The ship used for the voyage was the MS Schwabenland, a German vessel equipped to support flying boats. The ship had previously been used for aviation support, including launching aircraft by catapult. The expedition departed from Hamburg in December 1938. Its destination was the Atlantic sector of Antarctica, especially the region of Dronning Maud Land, known in English as Queen Maud Land. The official purpose was to survey territory, collect geographical data, and identify possible locations that could support future German whaling operations. The expedition also served the political purpose of demonstrating German activity in a remote region where other states had already made claims or shown interest. When the Schwabenland reached Antarctic waters, aircraft were launched to conduct aerial reconnaissance. These aircraft photographed large areas of coastline and interior ice. Their flights helped map parts of the region that were poorly known at the time. The Germans dropped markers bearing national symbols from the aircraft as a way of indicating territorial interest. This was not unusual in the era of imperial claims, but it did not automatically create uncontested sovereignty. Antarctica was already a space of overlapping claims and uncertain legal status. The name Neuschwabenland referred to the territory the expedition surveyed and claimed interest in. It was named after the Schwabenland itself, which in turn drew from Swabia, a region in Germany. Importantly, Neuschwabenland was not the name of a confirmed base. It was not, in the documented record, a secret underground fortress. It referred to a surveyed Antarctic region. The expedition's mapping work was real, the flight operations were real, the German territorial interest was real, but the documented expedition was also limited in duration and scope. The Schwabenland did not remain in Antarctica for years. It did not establish a permanent settlement. The available historical record does not show construction of a functioning military base, a long-term colony, or a hidden wartime installation. This distinction matters because later stories often begin with real details and then build far beyond them. A real German expedition went to Antarctica. A real region was mapped. A real name, Neuschwabenland, entered the historical record. But the later idea of a concealed Nazi stronghold under the ice is a different claim entirely, and it requires a different level of evidence. The evidence for the expedition is found in maps, reports, photographs, and historical accounts. The evidence for a secret wartime base is not comparable. The expedition ended in early 1939. Within months, Europe moved toward war. Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, and the Second World War began. At that point, priorities changed. Long-range Antarctic development would have required ships, fuel, personnel, supplies, construction equipment, regular access, and a stable maritime route. Wartime Germany faced increasing naval pressure, resource shortages, and strategic demands much closer to home. A remote Antarctic project would have been difficult even in peacetime. During a global war, it would have been far more difficult. When the Second World War began, Germany's ability to operate freely across the world's oceans steadily declined. The German Navy could send submarines on long-distance missions. Surface raiders and auxiliary vessels also operated in distant waters early in the war. But Antarctica presented special problems. It was not simply far away. It was seasonal, hostile, logistically demanding, and difficult to supply. A permanent base would have required repeated voyages. It would have needed food, fuel, building materials, power generation, heating, medical supplies, communication equipment, spare parts, and trained personnel capable of surviving in polar conditions. It also would have required concealment from Allied intelligence, shipping observation, radio monitoring, and post-war investigation. The historical record does not support the claim that Germany maintained a confirmed Antarctic military presence during the war. This does not mean no German vessel ever entered the southern oceans during the war. German naval operations were global in some respects, but operating in the ocean is not the same as building and maintaining an Antarctic base. The difference between a voyage and a base is enormous. A voyage can be brief. A base requires continuity. A voyage can be hidden for a time. A base leaves traces. A voyage can be conducted by a small crew. A base needs a support chain. For historians, this is where the Base 211 narrative runs into a central problem. The claim asks us to accept a major logistical operation without the documentary footprint normally associated with such an effort. By the final years of the war, Germany was under intense military pressure. Allied bombing damaged infrastructure. Fuel shortages became severe. The Navy was struggling to sustain existing operations. The war in Europe consumed manpower, materials, and transport capacity. Under those conditions, a secret Antarctic fortress would have been an extraordinary undertaking. Extraordinary claims are not automatically false, but they require strong evidence. In this case, the available evidence points in the opposite direction: a short pre-war expedition, followed by no verified wartime continuation. After Germany's defeat in 1945, the collapse of the Third Reich created a fertile environment for rumor. Many Nazi officials fled, hid, or attempted to escape justice. Some escaped to South America through post-war networks. Others were captured. Some died during the final days of the war. The fate of certain individuals was uncertain for a time, and uncertainty often creates speculation. In the immediate post-war years, stories circulated about escaped leaders, hidden treasure, secret submarines, and remote refugees. Antarctica became one of several imagined destinations. Its remoteness made it useful for rumor. Very few people could check claims directly. Maps were incomplete. Weather and ice made access difficult. The continent already had an aura of mystery. This is where real events began to overlap with post-war imagination. In 1946 and 1947, the United States Navy conducted Operation High Jump, officially known as the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program. It was a large Antarctic operation involving thousands of personnel, multiple ships, and aircraft. Its stated objectives included training personnel, testing equipment in polar conditions, expanding knowledge of Antarctica, and establishing a research base at Little America IV. Because Operation High Jump was large and military in character, it later became a major ingredient in Antarctic conspiracy theories. Some writers argued that the United States was not simply conducting polar training and exploration, but searching for or attacking a hidden German base. However, the existence of Operation High Jump does not by itself prove the existence of a hidden enemy installation. Large military expeditions can have practical explanations. Antarctica was strategically important for cold weather training, logistics, mapping, aviation, and future geopolitical presence. The early Cold War also shaped how people interpreted events. Secrecy, military technology, nuclear weapons, submarines, intelligence operations, and unexplained aerial phenomena all became part of the public imagination. In this environment, Antarctica became a screen onto which many anxieties could be projected. The Nazi base myth also connected with other post-war themes: claims of surviving Nazi leaders, secret weapons programs, flying saucer stories, and fears that hidden factions had escaped defeat. Some claims pointed to German submarines that surrendered in Argentina after the war. The surrender of U-boats in South America was real, but the leap from that fact to an Antarctic base is not established by documentation. A submarine arriving in Argentina does not prove a prior Antarctic supply mission. It may create a question, but it does not answer it. Historians must separate adjacency from evidence. A real German expedition does not prove a secret base. A real U-boat surrender in South America does not prove an Antarctic escape route. A real U.S. Navy operation in Antarctica does not prove a battle under the ice. Each claim has to be examined on its own. When researchers Colin Summerhays and Peter Beeching examined the myth in detail, they concluded that the evidence did not support the idea of a hidden Nazi Antarctic base. Their analysis emphasized logistical problems, contradictions in the claims, and the lack of archival confirmation. The absence of evidence is not always evidence of absence. But in historical work, a claim of this size would normally leave many kinds of traces: orders, shipping records, fuel records, construction plans, supply manifests, radio logs, diaries, photographs, captured documents, post-war interrogations, wreckage, or physical remains would be expected. For Base 211, that level of evidence has not been produced. What exists instead is a chain of post-war speculation, later retellings, and expanding mythology. That does not make the subject uninteresting. In fact, it makes it historically interesting in a different way. The question becomes not only, did such a base exist? The stronger question may be, why did so many people come to believe that it could have existed? To answer that, we have to look at the Base 211 narrative itself. The phrase Base 211 is often used in modern conspiracy literature to describe an alleged secret German installation in Antarctica, usually placed somewhere in Neuschwabenland or Queen Maud Land. The story varies depending on the source. In some versions, the base was a wartime naval station. In others, it was an underground city. In more elaborate versions, it housed advanced aircraft, secret weapons, escaped officials, or technologies far beyond what was publicly known in the 1940s. The problem is that these versions are not consistent. Some accounts connect Base 211 to U-boats. Others connect it to flying saucers. Others connect it to Operation High Jump. Others connect it to hidden entrances under the ice. The more the story travels, the more elements it absorbs. This is common in modern folklore. A myth does not usually appear fully formed. It grows by attaching itself to real events. In the Base 211 narrative, The real events are clear. Germany sent an expedition to Antarctica in 1938 to 1939. The expedition surveyed part of Queen Maud Land. The name Neuschwabenland was used. Germany lost the Second World War. Some Nazi officials escaped Europe. Some U-boats surrendered in Argentina. The United States later conducted Operation High Jump. Antarctica remained remote, difficult to access, and poorly understood by the public. Each of these facts can be verified in some form, but the myth emerges when they are arranged into a story that goes beyond the evidence. That story usually says, Germany found something in Antarctica, built a base there, escaped to it after the war, and later encountered American forces during Operation High Jump. The difficulty is that the connecting tissue is missing. There is no confirmed archival record showing that Base 211 existed as a functioning German Antarctic base. There is no verified construction record, no accepted archaeological evidence, no reliable chain of wartime documents, no physical remains identified as such by mainstream polar historians. This does not stop the story from spreading, because the story has features that make it attractive. First, it involves Antarctica, one of the most remote places on Earth. Second, it involves the Second World War, a period already full of secrecy, advanced weapons research, intelligence operations, and unresolved questions. Third, it involves the Nazis, whose real crimes and real secret programs make additional claims feel plausible to some audiences, even when evidence is weak. Fourth, it involves the idea of hidden knowledge. That is one of the most powerful themes in conspiracy culture. The psychology is simple but important. A hidden place invites hidden stories. Antarctica is physically distant from ordinary life. Most people will never visit it. Its interior is covered by ice. Its weather is extreme. Its maps are not familiar to the public. Its legal status is unusual. Its research stations are international but isolated. That combination creates a sense of mystery. When a place is hard to access, people often fill the empty space with imagination. Base 211 also benefits from a pattern seen in many post-war myths, the survival narrative. After 1945, the world struggled to understand the scale of what had happened. The defeat of Nazi Germany was real, but the fear that its ideology, networks, or technology might survive did not disappear immediately. In some cases, that fear was grounded. Former Nazis did enter post-war intelligence, scientific, and political networks in various countries. Some escaped prosecution. Some were recruited for their technical knowledge. Those real post-war controversies created space for more extreme stories. If some officials escaped to South America, could others have gone farther? If secret weapons programs existed, could there have been even more secret programs? If governments classified military operations, what else were they hiding? These questions are understandable. But questions are not proof. The disciplined approach is to ask, what evidence would we expect, and do we have it? For a hidden Antarctic base, we would expect a supply chain. We would expect fuel consumption. We would expect construction materials. We would expect communications. We would expect medical and food logistics. We would expect testimony from workers or sailors. We would expect captured German documents. We would expect Allied intelligence assessments. We would expect physical traces. The available record does not meet that standard. The strongest scholarly view is that Base 211 is not a documented wartime installation, but a post-war myth built around a real pre-war expedition. This does not mean every person interested in the story is foolish. It means the evidence has to be ranked. There is a difference between curiosity and conclusion. Curiosity says, Germany went to Antarctica. Why? Conclusion says, Germany built a secret underground base. The first statement is historical. The second requires evidence that has not been demonstrated. The same applies to Operation High Jump. It is historically true that Operation High Jump was large. It involved ships, aircraft, and thousands of personnel. It took place soon after the war. The Antarctic environment caused serious difficulties, including accidents and operational challenges. But the claim that it was a military attack on a hidden Nazi base is not confirmed by the official record. The ordinary explanation remains sufficient. The United States wanted polar experience, mapping data, logistical knowledge, and strategic presence in Antarctica. In the early Cold War, those goals made sense without needing an underground enemy base. This is one of the key principles in historical analysis. Do not multiply assumptions beyond necessity. If a documented explanation accounts for the known facts, a larger hidden explanation requires independent evidence. Base 2111 has not met that burden. Still, the myth continues because it is narratively powerful. It gives Antarctica a secret. It gives the Second World War an unresolved final chapter. It turns a mapping expedition into the opening act of a hidden drama. It connects military history, polar exploration, submarines, secret technology, and elite escape stories into a single framework. That framework is not supported as fact, but it is effective as folklore. And folklore matters because it reveals what people fear, what they suspect, and what kinds of official explanations they find incomplete. The Base 211 story tells us something about distrust. It reflects suspicion toward governments, military secrecy, post-war settlements, and official history. It also reflects the human attraction to forbidden geography. The belief that somewhere beyond the map, the real story is waiting. But serious investigation has to return to the evidence. The documented German Antarctic Expedition was real. Neuschwabenland was a real name applied to a surveyed region. The economic motive, especially whaling, was real. The aerial mapping was real. The territorial interest was real. The later claim of a permanent secret base is not established. That is the line between history and myth. Antarctica invites speculation because it is both real and distant. It is not a fantasy world. It is a continent with research stations, scientific records, satellite imagery, international agreements, and a long history of exploration. But for most people, it remains unreachable. That distance creates mystery. The German Antarctic Expedition of 1938-1939 belongs to a specific historical moment. Germany was seeking economic independence, strategic resources, and international prestige. Antarctic whaling mattered. Mapping mattered. Territorial signaling mattered. The expedition was short. It was documented. It did not, according to the available historical record, create a confirmed wartime base. After the war, the story changed. Neuschwabenland became more than a surveyed region. In conspiracy literature, it became a hidden refuge. Operation High Jump became more than a polar operation. In some retellings, it became evidence of a secret conflict. U-boats, missing leaders, advanced technology, and Antarctic secrecy were pulled into a single narrative. That narrative is compelling, but compelling is not the same as proven. History and myth often begin in the same place. A real event, a gap in public understanding, and a question that remains emotionally unresolved. The responsible task is not to mock every question and not to accept every claim. It is to examine the record carefully. What was documented? What was possible? What was likely? What was added later? And why did people want to believe it? The story of Neuschwabenland and Base 211 is not only a story about Antarctica, it is also a story about how modern myths are built. A ship sails south. Aircraft map an unknown coast. A name is placed on a remote region. A war begins. A regime collapses. Records become fragments, rumors spread, and decades later, a limited expedition becomes the seed of a hidden empire under the ice. The evidence does not support that final image as historical fact, but the endurance of the story tells us something real about the human mind. We are drawn to blank spaces on the map. We are drawn to sealed archives, forbidden zones, and places where ordinary people cannot easily go. We are drawn to the possibility that history has a locked room somewhere, and that behind the door is the missing explanation. Antarctica remains one of the last great symbols of that idea. A continent of ice, a place of science, a place of hardship, a place where nations cooperate, compete, and watch. And for many, a place where the imagination still asks, what else could be hidden there? That question is powerful. But the answer, if it is to be history rather than myth, must still come from evidence. Until that evidence appears, Base 211 remains what the record shows it to be, a post-war legend built around a real expedition, a real place, and the enduring mystery of the frozen continent.